Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky, and today I'm going to share with you some of the key insights from this book, Flawless Consulting by Peter Block, a guide to getting, your expertise used. I've had several people over the last little while ask me for my perspective, my thoughts on this classic consulting book, again called Flawless Consulting by Peter Block. So I thought it'd be a good time to revisit it and share with you the key takeaways from this book and how in the modern age and day you can apply some of these best practices or at least ideas into your consulting business and into your career. So Peter writes, the more complexity, confusion, and uncertainty in our lives, the more we realize we cannot go it alone or keep doing what we have been doing. The demand for help and advice should keep growing. I think with the uncertainty in the world right now, conflicts, unrest, AI, technology, this bodes very well for consulting, right? Consulting really thrives and provides a great advantage to organizations that are trying to grapple with uncertainty, with change. So as a consultant, we have a lot of uncertainty and a lot of change going on right now. This bodes very well for the industry and for consultants like yourself. Another part of this book is the author explains the 5 phases of consulting. So I'll go through them here for you. The first, number 1, entry and contracting. He defines this as setting up the meeting, qualifying the buyer, and an opportunity to confirm that you are confident that you can provide value. Inside of that, one area that consultants often kind of gloss over, don't pay enough attention to, is qualifying the buyer, right? Very often, especially earlier stage consultants, view those or that initial meeting or maybe a couple of meetings where they need to kind of prove themselves to the buyer. But you really want to see yourself at the same level as the buyer. You want to use this as an opportunity in that initial kind of stage or phase to qualify the buyer. Make sure that you feel good about them. Make sure that you want to actually get into an engagement with them. You want to look for an alignment of values. And of course, you want to make sure that you feel confident that you can provide great value and a positive outcome for them. Number 2, discovery and dialogue. This is getting clear on everyone involved in the project, the decision-making process, define the problem, what kind of data and information is needed, what does the project timeline look like? So, are you on the same page, and is it possible to complete it within the kind of guidelines and parameters and timeline that the buyer wants and that you're able to deliver on? Number 3, analysis and decision to act. So setting up clear goals for the project and selecting the best action and steps. Think about this kind of as planning for the project. Now into phase number 4, engagement and implementation. So here you're actually carrying out the planning of the third phase. So third phase, you're doing analysis and planning. Fourth phase, you're doing the actual engagement and implementation. So this might be a series of meetings, workshops. You're essentially turning complexity into simple actions and moving on the recommendations that are being made. And the 5th phase that the author refers to here is extension, recycle, or termination. Very interesting selection of words. But anyways, it says this is all about learning from the engagement, deciding if the engagement should be extended or expanded, taking what was learned from the engagement and deciding what the best next steps are. So I think this is a good way of looking at the different parts or kind of phases of a total consulting engagement. It's a good high level approach. I think phase 1 and 2 are often combined. So that is kind of the entry and contracting as he describes it, and the discovery and the dialogue. But I feel that breaking them out is in fact a good reminder on the importance of each of these. And you can get clear on the role that you're looking to play and what a successful outcome for each of these different phases will be. So I think, filtering through, or at least kind of writing these down, if you need to hit the rewind button, whatever it might be, or grab a copy of the book. But, thinking about, again, the different parts of a consulting engagement can also provide you with some pretty good opportunities to find areas to improve inside of your business right at each phase. The author then goes on to write, one reason consulting can be frustrating is that you are continually managing lateral relationships. Your job isn't to just say yes to a client if it's not in their best interest. And because of that, it means that this client-consultant relationships can feel ambiguous at times. He then says, the book is about managing this ambiguity, right? So the business of consulting very much is based on relationships, and you are in a unique position as a consultant because you're not an employee, right? You're serving a different role, and oftentimes that can create a lot of feeling of not really being sure or clear on how to manage a situation, especially if you are developing in your career. He then says, quote, "There's much more to the client-consultant relationship than the simple content of the problem or project the consultant is working on." He goes on to say, a major objective of every consultation is to encourage you to focus on and value the affective or interpersonal aspect of the relationship that you have with the client. Most of us have a great deal of experience working at the cognitive or content level. And here, I think he's referring to the importance of feelings. Clients have feelings, of course, and how you read them, interpret, or how you react, how you respond is critical to the success of every project and to your success as a consultant. So it's not only about can you deliver, but it's also can you manage the relationship. And in many cases, you won't be able to get to a point where you can successfully deliver or have your recommendations acted upon or implemented if you're not able to manage the relationship and the feelings inside of that engagement, right, or leading up to it. I like how he really encourages the reader to model the behavior that we want to see in our clients. He says, our own consulting behavior should be consistent with the style of management that we advocate to our clients. This is something that we kind of share or talk with our clients very often, which is, in our own business, when we provide coaching and training for consultants, we ourselves go and invest in our own, coaches and mentors and programs to consistently and continually develop ourselves, whether that's to develop, as a leader, to develop in different areas of our business. And we encourage our whole team to think of ways that we can support them to develop, because collectively that means that we all get stronger. But I think it's a good reminder for all consultants that, eat your own dog food. If you're going to encourage your clients to take action, make sure that you take action. If you're encouraging your clients to invest in something, then you should also invest in something similar yourself. Right? That kind of effect is I think quite a powerful one, has been my observation over the last couple of decades of running consulting businesses. An advantage that consultants have, right, is that they don't need to be involved in the politics of the organization. And the author says, consultants, however, are in a unique position to address the people or process issues productively. As third parties, they have no vested interest in the process issues, no power to gain or lose, no territory to expand or contract, no budget to increase or decrease. And I'm highlighting this because I think it's a good opportunity to make sure that you're considering this at minimum, but more likely bringing this into the conversations that you have with buyers, right? What's different? What's the advantage, the reason to bring you in? At times, you might be in a position where somebody's questioning why do you have a seat at the table? Why are you even here? Why should we listen to you? Well, this is something different, right? You're not in the same position as a typical employee or executive would be. You can actually really deliver impartial feedback and recommendations based on what you're seeing inside of the organization. He then says, quote, "Effective consulting skills are the steps and behaviors that act to create internal commitment. Each of us has seen examples of consulting projects where the study or report ends up on the shelf despite its cost and relevance." He then goes on to say this is because there wasn't enough commitment built. And I think this is a really important point, that if you're not getting commitment at every stage, if you are not making sure that it's, you're not just being hired to just do work and just to provide recommendations, but you're being brought in to partner with the organization or with a person or a group of people inside the organization because they truly are committed to change or to solving a problem or to making an improvement. If that commitment isn't there, you might get paid. You might do, the work that you were brought in to do, but it's not going to end up leading to a positive outcome. And most consultants that we work with are really, they're doing what they're doing because they want to see an impact. They want to help. They truly want to make a difference. and of course be rewarded, for the value that they create. But I think focusing on that commitment throughout, from start to finish, is really important. The author also does a good job of providing an outline around the foundation or the foundational elements for a smooth project. And there's 10 of these. So I'm going to go through them rather quickly here just to list them off. But I think they're interesting and kind of noteworthy. It says, number 1, define the initial problem. Number 2, decide whether to proceed with a project. That's really critical, right? So you're not just saying define the initial problem and get started. Very often, right, as consultants, our role is not just to find the first problem and get going on the project. It's to actually ensure that the problem that we find, or probably said better, all the different problems that we might uncover, the one that we actually end up making recommendations around to solve is the right problem. So making sure that you're solving the right problem, making sure that you're working with a client that you actually want to work with, is really important. So number 2, decide whether to proceed with a project, really critical. Number 3, select the dimensions to be studied. Right? At the core of almost every consulting engagement, there's going to be data, there's going to be analysis. You need to identify what is the actual issue that needs to be solved, rather than just putting a Band-Aid on something and just doing work. Right? Earlier stage consultants will find that they just jump to do work without slowing down and really making sure that the work that they are going to do is the right work in the first place. Number 4, decide who will be involved in the project. Number 5, select the method, right? So how are you going to go about doing this? How will you actually deliver it? And I'll make a note here that at times a client will say, hey, yeah, can you come in and do a training for us? Well, what if training is not going to actually deliver the best outcome for the client? So this is why selecting the method is important, and having kind of consideration for that. Number 6, do the discovery, right? So actually get in there and start to collect information, have interviews, whatever it might be, surveys, so forth. Number 7, make sense of the data. So you've now collected data through surveys or whatever software you might be using, conversations, interviews. You now need to make sense of that data. Very often the answers, right, or I'd say almost always the answers they already exist. It's that the buyer hasn't, they're often too close. They're overlooking what's already there. And they haven't had the time, or maybe they don't have the know-how or the skill, right, the knowledge, the experience, the expertise to figure out how to make sense of the data. So that's number 7, is making sense of the data. Then number 8 is providing the results, right? Or here, I think it says providing the results. Number 9 is making recommendations. And then number 10 is decide on action. So providing the results to me is, I think that's the results of the data. And so it's like, here's what the data is showing us. Then based on that, number 9 is you make recommendations. Right? So you're finding, here's all the data, here's what we're seeing, here's what we recommend, and here's why. And then based on that, number 10 is actually deciding on the actions. In the book, he provides an explanation, an example of each of these parts, which I think is quite helpful. And again, I like that he really breaks these down, because each one of these is an opportunity for you to refine, to optimize, to improve your overall process inside of your business. And this becomes especially important when you look to grow and scale beyond just yourself. So if you have a team, right, each one of these elements is a real opportunity for improvement. So for those of you, right, who are already running, established consulting businesses, big opportunity. For those of you that are just getting started, I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about the details of this. But as your business starts to develop and grow, this is where making these kind of optimizations and improvements and refinements can actually have a pretty big impact. Later in the book, Block talks about contracts, but he doesn't really get into much detail, nor does he provide any examples or scripts, which I think would be helpful for the reader. And while examples and scripts are lacking when talking about contracts, the book does provide quite a few scripts and examples covering situations consultants might find themselves in. For example, outlining the question a client might ask, and what a prepared, or I should say, what an unprepared consultant might say, and then what a realistic prepared consultant could reply with. So it's like, here's a situation, a buyer might give you this objection, or they might make this request. A consultant that is unprepared they'll typically respond like this. If you're prepared, and if you're more savvy, and if you're more a true expert and more seasoned, here's how you would respond. Those kind of examples, I think, are quite helpful for people. Most consultants, I believe, will find value in this book. However, at times, I do need to say it does feel like you're reading a textbook. It feels a little bit outdated, but there's without question, there is some golden nuggets inside this book that I believe can help all consultants. The book closes out with an important reminder that consulting is all about relationships. The author writes that consulting cannot be done well without genuine caring for the client. I think so. It's important to look at how we are showing up, how we are working with clients, and how much care are we truly giving? Is there an opportunity to maybe recognize that some work that you might do is too transactional, and that you can lean into that more and actually show up more as showing that you care, showing that you really are in this for the long term, that you have the best interest for the client, that you're not just going to deliver, but you're going to try and over deliver, or you're going to try and really ensure that the client is not only doing the work, but is going to be successful as a result of the work that they do, and therefore create a positive outcome for them. So there you have it. That's a quick recap here on the book Flawless Consulting by Peter Block. If you would like to see other book reviews or have some perspectives or thoughts, let us know. I'd love to hear what books you are maybe most interested in having us do a review on. And make sure to check out consultingsuccess.com for the latest articles, studies, best practices. We have also other experts that come and share their experiences on our blog as well. So we have lots of resources for consultants to help you to grow and scale a successful consulting business. Head over again to consultingsuccess.com. And if you haven't already, I would absolutely love and appreciate if you can just take a moment right now to hit that subscribe button, to leave a rating or review for the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube or whatever platform you're on. And if you want some bonus points, I would truly appreciate if you use more than one platform. Maybe if you're on Spotify or you're on Apple Podcasts, or maybe you're on YouTube right now, please go ahead and hit that notification bell, subscribe, leaving a rating and review. If you know anyone that might benefit from the resources that we share at Consulting Success to help them grow their own consulting business, please do share. That referral is just a real compliment, and we certainly would appreciate it. So thank you all for tuning in today. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will talk soon.